my interest in books has been focused mainly on science fiction, with getting into some fantasy and more recently getting into horror. I've also read some classics like Thomas Hardy's Test of the D'Urbervilles, things like that. Not a lot of children's literature, but I feel it's important for Telltale to try to cover it all, if possible. That it's my belief that there are good books in all genres, not just science fiction, not just high literature. If you look hard enough, you're going to find gems in all different areas. Now, the particular book I'm talking about today is a classic. It is considered a gem. It's one that has a very long history of being written and rewritten and retold and refilmed and all over the place. And I decided to go back to the earliest book publication of The Beauty and the Beast. The first book publication was in 1740 by an author named Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve, French. And it is a French fairy tale. The story actually goes back before this book to oral traditions. And it was told and retold and passed down. And then this author decided to write a book when fiction books started to become a thing in the 1700s. And so she was the first to write Beauty and the Beast. Now, the most popular version of the book was written in the 1800s by a different author. I forget the name. But that's the version that most movies, including the Disney movie, are based on. Not this one. But the one written in the 1800s, is based on this book. So I decided to go all the way back to the source. And of course, we all know the story. A young woman has a father who falls on hard times, and he tries to get his fortune back, but he fails, and he gets lost on his way back and walks into this house because he needs a place to rest. And it seems like the house is empty. So he sits down and there's a meal waiting for him magically. So he eats it. And before he leaves, he goes through the garden, is admiring the flowers, and he remembers that his youngest daughter, Beauty, asked him to bring back a single rose. So he sees these beautiful roses in the garden and he picks one. Well, that's when the owner of the property shows up. How dare you pick one of my flowers? And in order to keep from being killed, he has to promise to bring his daughter back. He actually has a number of daughters, but it has to be a daughter who would be willing, who would go willingly to stay with the beast in exchange for her father's life. That's the setup, and it's actually a good chunk of the book. And lovers of Disney will remember this story. If you've seen the Jean Cocteau movie from the 1940s, La Belle et la Bête, that, though it's based on the 1800s novel, it's very close to this novel. Very, very close to this novel. So if you're familiar with that movie, then you're familiar with the basic story here. This particular book, of course, is translated because I don't read French. I'm looking for the translator right now. And I'm not finding it. Translated by J.R. Planchet in 1858. That's the version that I read. So it was translated by somebody who is French in 1858. That's the text that's published here. It's very good. It's told like a fairy tale, not so much like a modern novel, being very narrative rather than people talking. So, because of that style, it does come across as being a very young book, being aimed at children, but the the story is complicated. And I got to admit, of course, this summer I'm doing nothing else but buddy reads with Samantha, Bound and Tagged. Um, this was another buddy read with her, and it was one that I insisted on doing because she loves the she loves Beauty and the Beast, the movie and stuff. She's never read the original novel, but she likes all those movies, and she absolutely loves the Sarah J. Maas book that draws on the story of Beauty and the Beast, although lots and lots of differences. So she wanted me to buddy read the Sarah J. Maas book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, which we're doing right now. And I insisted, well, before we do that, let's read the original, The Beauty and the Beast, because I've never read it. Never read the book. I saw the movie, the animated one. Never read the book. So I wanted to read the book. It's a children's story, but like most of these old children's stories, there's a lot of very sophisticated themes going on. It's a very sophisticated message about not judging people on appearances and rather digging deeper into their character before you see who they really are and then decide if that's someone you could love or not. I think it's a very powerful message because there are a lot of people that find themselves alone, mainly because we have a society that's so hung up on superficial things instead of taking time to get to know someone and taking time to dig into character. And so here's a story about a guy who is all alone. He's a wonderful guy. He's a prince. He's got money. He's got an estate. He's got everything he could possibly want. He's got everything he could possibly give anybody. And yet he's all alone because a spell was cast on him to make him appear like a hideous beast. And so people judge him on his appearance, not on who he is inside. Who he is inside is very caring and very giving and very kind. And that's just a hugely important message for all ages. Battery almost out, all changed, all good now. It's like changing diapers, I swear. Anyway, back to the topic. The book does have a very sophisticated message about human relations and in particular about falling in love and choosing partners and those sorts of things, which I think an adult can appreciate. So I don't think you have to be a child to enjoy this book. I think you can read it as an adult and get a lot out of it. But it is definitely appropriate for younger people. And this edition in particular, we chose this. Samantha had gotten the Minalima books for the one for the Harry Potter, the first book, which was released, I think, back in April. She bought it and read it and loved it. And I knew she liked Beauty and the Beast, so I bought both of us the Minalima edition of Beauty and the Beast, which is a very beautifully designed book. Wonderful end papers, wonderful illustrations throughout, nice typography. This is graphic design done right. This is books done right. It's a beautiful book, printed on the cover, not a dust cover. I love that. For kids, a lot of interactive elements, things like spinning wheels to choose destinies, and it's just a very cool book. A lot of things for kids to play with here. A lot of things for adults to enjoy too. You can. This is the kind of book you can spend time with your kid and get them into literature, and both of you get something out of it. Timeless classic story. what more could you want? I'm giving this 5 stars. I think it's a top tale. I'm going to talk Emily into letting me put it there, and it's going to go on our top tales list. And so I'm recommending this. If you love this kind of story, if you know it is a romance, all right. If you're looking for a war story, don't pick up The Beauty and the Beast. This is a romance story, but there's nothing wrong with romance. Okay, there's nothing wrong with falling in love and finding someone that is right for you. There's nothing wrong with stories like that. They're enjoyable stories. It's so hard to find that in real life. Much easier to pick up a book and get it. So it's got my recommendation. This is an excellent book. Read it with your kids. With that, this is Telltale signing off once again. We'll see you next time with another book. Bye.